Hey traders, welcome to another crypto market update. Hopefully everyone had a good weekend. We're going to be covering a bunch of different altcoins. We can see Ethereum, BNB, Cardano, as well as ZEC or Zcash right now. We're going to be covering those as well as looking at the relative strength and weakness of our basket of alts that we do like to analyze on a daily basis. So like always, we're going to start off with BTC because that's going to be the most important asset to be looking at within the cryptocurrency market. So we're going to take a step back and actually zoom out, not just looking at BTC pairs, but also different currencies as well. Let's just take this away and see what we currently are within the currencies that we like to look at. So I think we're on the 2-day for all of them there. So let's just zoom it out a little bit further so we have a good understanding of where we are. And we can see basically on every single currency, we're at a breakout. There was a point where USD was in a breakout, but for example, the Australian dollar was stronger than the US dollar, so it was not currently breaking out. And then things like the euro was doing well, so it wasn't breaking out. But at this point right now, we see really every single major currency break a key level of resistance as well as retest it for a new level of support. So in terms of a large time frame, it looks very bullish looking at the key horizontal zones. The next zone we can see, for example, on the Australian dollar is going to be around 1825, around 18K. We can see back in the Japanese yen, it was around 14,000 yen, and then, nope, 1.4 million, sorry, yen, somewhere around there. And then for the euro, it's around 10,000 euros, a little bit higher up, maybe 11,000 euros. So we do have a decent amount of space to go before we hit our next key level of resistance. And then the USD, it's going to be around 13.2, somewhere around there. We can see, maybe it's just a little further back, around 13, somewhere around there. It was a key level back if we are looking at the previous time frames, key level of support, new level of resistance, and then when we go back to around summer of 2019, it was a key level of resistance as well. So there's going to be some level of hesitation from the buyers around that area, and there's going to be some level of sell pressure for short sellers trying to catch the top, for people who are long to take some positions and profits off the table, and all that good stuff. So we have a good understanding of different currencies because there are different currencies to compare with, not just the United States dollar. We do have to keep that in mind. And then when we are looking at potential opportunities for continuation patterns, we definitely see a very clear opportunity here. You can call it either a ascending triangle or a symmetrical triangle, depending on how you want to look at the resistance that's currently on the structure. But that's what we see right here. And it is on top of a previous key level of resistance. We see, let's get our brush, key level of resistance right here, second time, third time, fourth time, very well respected. We broke, consolidated above this zone, and retested with a perfect wick to the downside, indicating buy pressure coming in and pushing the price right back up, which is very bullish. And now we're at a point where we're creating a price action pattern, almost done the actual squeeze because we are heading to the end of the apex right there. So we'll zoom in and look at more granular detail of the smaller time frames, but looking at the larger time frames, we know that there is a large triangle here that is broken out. We can classify this as broken out basically. So in my opinion, BTC has broken out of its large triangle. We are looking for continuation patterns to the upside. Now we don't see it on this chart. But there is, if we go on, let's say the Bitfinex chart, there is a low right here that connects the higher lows, and then it would look something like this. So, in my opinion, the 10.6 zone was a very important key level to break. We broke above it. We're looking for continuation patterns, and we have a continuation pattern right here. So we're going to be looking for an opportunity to long when we get into the smaller time frames, and that will go into the alts and really what Bitcoin does, alts will follow for the most part. If Bitcoin's doing well, it's going up, it's appreciating in value, most likely alts will soon after or during that, around that time, will appreciate at, at a similar, not rate, but at a similar frequency and aggression to some degree. Whereas on the downside, you're going to get that same thing, just vice versa. So on the 4-hour chart, we can see it's a little bit more clear, this symmetrical triangle. You can call it an ascending as well, depending on if you want to value this descending zone, or if you want to play a little bit safe and then look at that, let's say 12K zone as not only a psychological zone, but also a horizontal zone of resistance. So we do see a break of this descending zone, which is a key level of resistance, and a retest validating it for a new level of support with a wick to the downside, holding this series of higher lows, and the candle closure closing right at the previous level of high that we saw within the triangle, which in my opinion is pretty bullish. So we're now range bound, but we're now at a point where we're potentially going to break out because we've already broken the triangle and the squeeze. We're consolidating above the previous resistance, which is validating it as a new level of support. And once it breaks that 12K zone, I think that we will see another move to the upside. So I am looking for opportunities for longs within BTC specifically, as well as alts that we'll talk about later in this video. So that's going to be the 4-hour. Let's now break it down on the 1-hour. Obviously, this was a very significant sell-off, but like the other one, we did see it hold, which is great to see. And what we're looking for, ideally, would be something like this. So let's get our bars pattern. Let's look at that big sell-off. Let's make it a lot smaller. Something maybe like this. Maybe a little bit smaller. Like that, but ideally we're wanting to get something like this, where we see a consolidation, where there's now an equilibrium between the buyers and sellers, because we had a massive shift in supply and demand, where there was an excess level of supply and a reduction in demand, creating a push to the downside. But what's great to see is the buyers were able to hold and push the price where it closed above the previous major high, right? This is that previous major high right here. We can see this was a key level of support. We held them multiple times all along here, right? We made higher lows, and we got a huge dump, but the candle closure on the 1-hour, which is the execution time frame, is still making a higher low. So we were able to hold this previous low as a new level of support right around here, and then now we're making a higher low. So it does look pretty good. Let's now go on to the 30-minute chart, because we do see a squeeze occurring right around here, connecting the lower highs like so. Oh, let's get that red. And also put a projection on it to indicate that it is a zone and not just a single price point within the chart. Like so. So now we got a good descending wedge structure within a symmetrical triangle breakout. So that's going to be that right there. And then when we're looking for potential targets, let's get the arrow. And the breakout was right there. So 12.8 is going to be the next key level of resistance, which is in confluence with this zone as well as this support zone. So it makes sense. Happy with the overall structure. All right, so let's now go back into the 30-minute chart. And what we are looking for, ideally, is let's get our snip, which is our tool that we use to draw on. And it's a lot easier than many other drawing tools in terms of drawing on it. So what we're ideally wanting to look for, let's just incorporate that, just because that is a part of a larger trade. So we know that this key level of resistance is ideally going to be acting as a nice new level of support. We see a descending zone here, very well respected throughout the series of lower highs, and we have a somewhat of a broad level of support. We got a huge wick to the downside there, but that does indicate that there's buy pressure keeping and will be able to hold the price above this zone ideally. And then what you're wanting to see within a breakout is you want to see the shift from a series of lower lows to lower highs. We see a high, lower high, lower high, and then we see a low and a lower low. Obviously this is a higher low, but this is a lower low. We're creating something like this. So what we're wanting to see is a shift from that market structure into a changing market structure, where we're going to see a series of higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, ideally with a break and retest of a horizontal zone. That would be the ideal situation that we'd like to see within a trade. So now let's talk about what actually could go down. So ideally, I want to have one more retest of this. Not necessary, but it would be nice. But the main zone that we want to see break is this 12K zone right around here. So we want to see the price aggressively push up, not a tiny bit where just consolidating here and you see a little bit of a green candle. You don't really want to be entering there because it could just get slammed down, and then you move it over a little bit. You want to see a strong impulsive push by the buyers. That is a level of confidence that you haven't seen throughout the downtrend. Like we saw here, this was an aggressive push that we haven't really seen within the downtrend, right? Where we see a downtrend, aggressive push, right? We see an aggressive push here after a downtrend, we see an aggressive push. But within this structure, we want to see this horizontal zone break, and it didn't break, so then that created our higher low, which is a good thing because it creates more structure within the price action pattern. But what we're seeing right now is this, and what we want to see is something like this, where we see a strong aggressive push breaking the previous resistance, which is right here, and creating ideally a new level of support. Doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. We could see a wick to the downside, but we want to see that hold. We want to see larger time frame candle closures hold that previous resistance as a new level of support. That would be the ideal situation for us to find ourselves in, and then we see very well respected market structure, right? Yes, we could have some move to the downside, but we ideally want to see the market structure move to the upside, consolidate, hold a level of support, and then break a previous level of resistance and create a new level of support, and then start trending to the upside. And these are the types of structures that we're looking to trade. It could be wedges, it could be triangles like that, it could be ascending zones, it could be symmetrical, but whatever the case is, we're looking for that type of structure, and I think that's what we see right here. As well as on a larger time frame, this is a symmetrical triangle, let's say on a 2 or 4 hour chart, right? So that's going to be what we're going to be looking for on BTC, and that's going to play into a lot of the alts that we will be talking about in this video. But first, before we get into the alts, we like to look at some tools to analyze the altcoin market. Like this one, this is called the Total 2. This is the total cryptocurrency market excluding Bitcoin. So obviously Bitcoin is very dominant in the crypto market, and we take out the entire crypto market, Bitcoin dominance or Bitcoin market cap within the chart, it'll just give you altcoins. And yes, Ethereum will be a huge player in this chart, but that's why we always look at Ethereum as well. So we're working some key levels. If we go to the monthly, we know that this is just a wick. So if this does close above the zone, this bullish candle does look like it did close, but we want to be a little bit certain. And as long as this candle closes green, I will say that that's a confirmation that we are now out of this trading range for the altcoin market, which means that we're going to be in a bullish continuation move to the upside. So we really want to be looking for opportunities for continuation patterns in altcoins. And then when we look at the weekly chart, we already do see candle closures, so it's a great sign. It would be nice to see a retest right around here. I don't know if we'll get it, but when we go into the smaller time frames, we already kind of do see, well actually we don't see that on the weekly. Does that make sense? Unless that huge green candle right there is turned into 2 days. So when you're looking at the 2 day, it does validate that previous resistance as a new level of support. And when you're looking at the daily, we see a nice level of resistance right there with a series of higher lows. So in my opinion, it looks like it's very, very bullish, trying to squeeze up, break the key level of a high right around here. And if it does break, I think altcoins will absolutely fly, especially if Bitcoin does well. I think altcoins will really start to take flight because Bitcoin needs to move up before altcoins generally. Not always, but generally. Because Bitcoin is in my opinion, kind of considered as a safe haven within the crypto realm. Obviously, it's not like Tether or anything. It's not backed by the US dollar or like tethered to the dollar, but Bitcoin has performed the best when you're looking at the longest time frame. There are some alts that are performing better, but it's the longest running blockchain and network, and it's by far the biggest in terms of market cap as well. So something to consider. So it's looking bullish. Let's now look at the BTC Dominance, which if the total 2 is going to go up, BTC Dominance theoretically should go down because the total market cap of altcoins is increasing, and ideally we want to see more speculation in the overall market, indicating that altcoins are going to be appreciating at a greater rate than Bitcoin. Bitcoin will be appreciating, but I think altcoins will just be appreciating at a greater rate. So this is Bitcoin dominance, and we want it to be going down. This major level of around 61, 62 is looking like it is weakening. You don't really see it break just yet. We do see it weakening. This nice descending wedge is still holding the zone in confluence with the horizontal zone. So we want to see it crack down below, and I don't know if we're going to get something this aggressive, but remember in 2017 when altcoins were absolutely ballooning, what did we see? We saw BTC market dominance absolutely shrink and basically fall like a brick out of a window. And if we see something like that as well, we really want to be in things that are relatively strong. We've seen Link do extremely well. Ethereum's done very well as well. And those are the type of relatively strong cryptocurrencies that we want to be in if there is a huge boom, when there is basically a bubble to some degree, because it's unsustainable the level of progression the price is moving at. But how long can it go? No one truly knows the exact amount, right? So we want to be able to play with that, and we want to be able to use that to our advantage. So that's an opportunity that will present itself eventually, but it's just a matter of when. And that 62, 61 level for the BTC dominance is that key level that we want to see break. And then the next level of support is going to be around 52 to 50, which is a really far away zone that could take not a long time for it to move. So we want to be nimble, adaptable, flexible with the market, and we want to be able to analyze different altcoins, see the relative strength and weakness, and to be able to act when necessary. So I think that's the end of the tools here. Bitcoin volatility is actually going down, which totally makes sense, but like we've seen in the past, we do have massive spikes in volatility and contractions into then expansions in volatility, and we can see right now it does make sense that we're in a contraction before a possible expansion to the upside. So that is a situation that we are going to be looking at for BTC, is what we talked about is a break and retest and a continuational move, which would then create more volatility, which would then kind of make sense for the overall structure. Let's quickly look at this here. So let's go to this thing right there. So if we're looking at this kind of like that, what we would be looking for is something like this, where you see contractions and then another huge expansion in volatility, right? That could be a pretty good sign of more upside to come. And I think that upside will be the way that Bitcoin breaks out. We've seen the S&P, which is a risk-on asset, do well, just in terms of risk-on asset basket. And then we also see things like gold and silver, which are the anti-fiat monetary uncertainty basket, where there's high inflation, which could happen due to the central banks printing a lot of money, which is what we're currently in right now, as well as the easy credit system that took place. For example, back in the 80s in Japan, as well as the 50s, late 40s, and early 60s in the United States. So these things happened before. Yes, Japan didn't have inflation, but they basically had deflation for 20 years, and obviously America had significant inflation throughout the 70s. So back to the subject. That's going to be what we're looking for the Bitcoin volatility, is a move back to the upside for an expansion in volatility. So that's going to be the tools that we're going to look at for the altcoin market, as well as some volatility discussion within Bitcoin. We're now going to go into our first alt, which is going to be ZEC or ZEC. And also, if you have any questions or you have any suggestions for which alts to look at, don't hesitate to drop them in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to take a look at it throughout the video where we are looking at altcoins. So we'll take a look at ZEC, and then we'll look at the relative strength and weakness. Actually, I think we should do the relative strength and weakness first, because that would make sense. So it's going to be this guy right here. Alright, so let's zoom out a little bit and then slowly zoom in. I'm going to make sure that we're at the end. Alright, wow, the big question, right? What is doing well? What do we want to look for continuation patterns in, right? Big question. In short, we don't want to be looking at these things, right? You don't want to be looking at Litecoin ideally right now, because it's just not performing well compared to things like Link. That has been absolutely destroying every single alt in terms of relative strength and weakness. So we have two different comparisons. We're looking at comparing alts to BTC, which is right here, which is going to be the base. It's like the minimum that you want to be doing better by. And then things compared to USDT, because we also want to see, comparing alts against each other, not just against BTC. So obviously, Link is a big winner. We also see SXP, which, is doing well, it looks like right now, but then just knowing SXP and seeing it throughout the months and weeks, it's definitely very volatile. It's been in the, the lowest quartile, outlier, or the quartile, I think it's called in stats, the lowest percentile and the highest percentile often, so it's very volatile. Don't know if that would be the best. We see Algo absolutely mooning to the upside. We'll take a look at that. So I'll just write these down here. Obviously, we'll take a look at Link, but Algo we'll take a look at as well. A little bit of a pullback on comp. I don't love it. I saw the price action. Atom is doing pretty decent. Huge move and a spike up on Theta. Let's zoom in here a little bit and see what we're able to identify a little bit more clear. SXP, yeah, we'll take a look at SXP. It's doing pretty well. It's a relatively strong project right now, so we'll just look for continuation patterns in it. I think we checked Algo, which is doing very well. Atom, I think I have Atom on the list, but I'll write it down just in case. And we also see SXPs on there. Tezos, Theta, and I think that's about it that we have. SXP, Atom, Comp, we got Tezos, XTZ, we got Theta, we got Ontology, we got Chainlink, Qtum. Yeah, so I got a good list here. So we'll go over those altcoins right now. First on the list is going to be ZEC, which is this guy right here. So we'll take a look at the weekly and then just quickly work our way down. Really not much that we're going to be working with here. We could go to the Binance thing, but I'm just going to stick to what we have right here, because really we see a nice continuation pattern. And if you're using like a parabolic SAR, a moving average, a trailing stop, you can just set that and let it run for as long as it can, because some of these alts are running for a lot longer than I expect. So when we're going to a smaller time frame like the 4-hour and 2-hour, clearly we do see a nice descending zone, and an ascending zone create a symmetrical triangle pattern with a key level around $91 being the previous resistance and new level of support on a horizontal level. What we're looking for is a break and retest of the 96 level. When we go to the 1 hour, we do see that was the previous main high. When we go like that and like that, we can see this zone as a previous key level of resistance, which is now should be turning into a new level of support if we do get a move to the upside. Ideally, those are the situations and the pullbacks that you want to be looking to enter in. ideally. So that's going to be the first potential play for an altcoin, is going to be Zcash. Let's quickly look at Chainlink, which is looking really phenomenal right now. Let's take everything off and then go to the weekly. Obviously at an all-time high, but I just want to see how the candle's closing. Man, that was a bullish candle. So candle closure. Oh, let's get the rectangle. Candle closure to wick close. That's going to be, oops, a level of support right there. And then we do see that level of support there that I don't think we're even going to take into consideration. So right around there. Nice level of support. And we do see a nice descending zone there, which is good to see. Alright, so let's just get our projection. And then go on to a smaller time frame as well. So it looks like that 1438 zone is going to be a key level. Let's go to the 1 hour. We could get a little bit more aggressive with the descending zone, hitting the candle closures instead, like so. So we could have two zones for two different potential risk tolerances. One's more conservative, one's quite aggressive. Like so. So you got your first possible entry at like 13.9 and then 14.45 if you are looking for a possible entry before this horizontal level here at 14.5. And then we do see some nice higher lows there. Very well respected. So this is, the descending zone is less important to me. It could even go, if we really were going to be just consolidating for a while, even like a descending wedge like so. So it could continue to fall like here and like that. That could be a potential bottoming as well. So it's definitely too early so far, but I will be looking for this 1260, 1258 zone right around there, 12.5 to hold. That would be the ideal situation for us to see within the markets for Chainlink anyways. And then for targets, let's just go here, here, here to here, and then wherever it breaks out, we'd be looking for a target around there, which isn't huge, but then you'd just be looking for a trailing stop or something that would align you around that zone, and then onwards. Alright, so that's going to be Chainlink. Let's now open up a different alt. VeChain. Alright, so let's look at VeChain. Retested very, very well. I drew this a while ago. I actually didn't enter here. I was looking at another pair. But man, oh man. Look at that fucking perfect entry. Let's get that. Break and retest. I would say it's a little late at this point, to be completely honest with you. It's looking like it's going to head to the target area, and then usually targets have a break and retest if they're really going to continue on somewhere around there. But the structure is already breaking out, and it's on its way. The bus has already left the station, which is the station, first station, second station was right around there. Third station, if you really want to get there. So if you're still looking to get on a station, that would be the station to get on. Right around there, ideally. And then you're looking to leave at that low or that next station right there, which is a pretty good risk reward. Creating a series of lower highs. Let's actually take a look at it. Let's go on to a trend line, connect to the lower highs right there. Let's get the candle closure and then make it as neat as possible. Oops, and then we see a nice squeeze occurring here within the markets, which we always like to see, and this is that nice level of support that we want to see as hold as well. So, and then we see a nice mid-range zone that will place right in there. So if we do see the price fail and then retest, that would be a great opportunity for us to look for entries as support bounces before we get our nice squeeze within the previous resistance new level of support, and then squeezing with a descending zone. And then that's going to be a nice contraction in the volatility before the expansion phase, ideally. And then you're looking for, if you are looking for all possible entries, you could be looking for a pretty decent risk reward here. 3.5, maybe if you're a little bit more conservative, 2.83 to 3.5. That's a pretty good, depending on when you're entering, if there's a wick, when the high or low is, all that stuff. But that's a good opportunity in terms of continuation, in terms of looking for continuation within the aggressive push to the upside, because the large term breakout already occurred, but this is a continuation within the large term breakout that could come into fruition, and what could be a good opportunity here. So that's going to be the opportunity that I see within VeChain. Already talked about those three. Theta we'll look at just because it's moving very aggressively to the upside. On the weekly chart, it does look like we've got 6 more days, so we haven't really officially broken above it. But this is a candle closure that we do want to see the candle close above. And on the daily, we see another candle closure. So weekly, daily are very major levels for me in terms of time frames. And then we see a nice ascending zone squeeze the price towards that key level of resistance, break to the upside. So this is going to be a major level of support. When we go on to a smaller time frame, I'm sure we can identify that a little bit more clear. There we go. 2 hour. And let's just go like that. Or just pull this down slightly. So ideally, then the ideal place that we want to be looking to enter would be somewhere along here. That would be a really good place to enter because we saw it as a key structural level of resistance. And let's get our price label right around here. 33 cents, 34 cents is a major level of support that I do want to see retest. So if it does come back to that zone, that would be great to see. We see very high R-vol, very weighted to the bulls, to the buyers as well, which is great. We see more buy pressure and buy volume on the way up than sell pressure on the way down, which is overall great to see within any possible long, because obviously you want more buyers than sellers. On the 30-minute chart, you do see a level of resistance and a series of higher lows. So this is classified as an ascending triangle formation. Let's get the 15-minute chart on there. Very, very tight, extremely tight, but it is still holding. So that's still classified as a well-respected zone. So let's get that, and let's get the projection, which is this guy right here. And it looks like we could be breaking up here very shortly. That was not very green. Let's make this green. There we go. So on the 15-minute chart, ideally we want to be on the 1 hour just to get a good look at it. But the resistance is the same. The resistance is around 38 cents, right around here. That's the key zone that we've been failing to break above. So if the 1 hour is able to close above there, if the 30 minutes closing above there, that's great to see. If the 15 is closing above there, that's great to see, because this is classified as a ascending triangle formation. We do have to understand that we are nearing a key level of resistance, but let's look at the smaller time frames and see what we can identify here. Yeah, it's a pretty key level of support, and the next zone's there. So yeah, we are kind of longing right into a possible level of resistance. But if you move that stop loss up to a potential break even, that would not be so bad for some exposure to some upside opportunity. So then you'd be looking for somewhere around there. Right around there. Right, and you want to see the candle closure. You don't want to see just a little tiny wick. You want to see candle closures. You want to see validations. So that's theta. Let's now go on to a smaller time frame on a different alt here. Well, let's go to a different alt and then go to a different time frame, obviously. think I covered all of that. Can't really think of adding any more value to that. Let's quickly go to BTC because it is looking like it's slowly trying to make a move back up here. And I think what I'm going to do is close that. And I just wanted to break above that zone. That huge sell-off start right around there. Although you could, I'm just going to go like this. That is my possible entry point for a retest. All right, now let's look at Binance Coin and Ethereum. We're not going to start from the weekly, but we'll just take a look at the two structures that we see right here. They're pretty similar. If Bitcoin's going to move up, these alts will probably most likely move up. We see Ethereum breakout point at around 400, a little over $400, key level of resistance that we're seeing hold right now, as well as an ascending zone creating a nice structure holding higher lows. So it is squeezing, creating a symmetrical triangle, and we're looking for continuation to move to the upside, retesting either the $400 zone or the $406 zone. And then for Binance Coin, what we're looking for is a break and retest of the $23 range, somewhere around there. And then continuation move to the upside with a key level of resistance starting at around $24.80, $25. So we've got a lot of room here for both structures. So we're going to be looking for continuation patterns in both. Let's get those nice and tight. Next thing we're going to be looking at is Cardano. Cardano actually already broke out of the zone, but we're looking for the let's say 15-cent range to break as well, because that was a key structural zone of resistance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rejections of that horizontal level of resistance. So we want to see the price break and retest that zone before we look for a nice long entry. So that's that pullback that we want to look for an entry on, ideally to continue the momentum to the upside for Cardano, and then looking for possible targets. That was the breakout right there. So then you're looking for around 1765, ideally. And then we'll talk about SXP because that has been doing very well. That looks pretty good as well. We'll talk about XRP after. Okay, let's now go on to the weekly chart of the SXP just to see what's happening. Massive move, wow, yeah. Okay. Well, it's well structured. That's good to see. Oh, that's actually looking really nice. We got a nice squeeze and a start of an impulsive push is what I see right now. So this is a squeeze right here. Right there. Let's get that red. And then we saw this zone hold. So if we are on a smaller time frame, you see this zone hold right here. Previous resistance equals new level of support on a large time frame. So we see a descending triangle pattern right here. But if we really want to get nitty gritty, we also do see some higher lows. So we could classify this as a symmetrical triangle pattern as well. Just like so. You can go back really far away if we wanted to. So that's a well-structured pattern. Let's go like this. And then I'm just going to take out that. And now we're going to be looking for the horizontal zone candle closure, rejection, rejection. And it looks like we got a nice retest there, not precise, but it's a little bit of a zone. With this, you got to be a little bit more flexible, because with this pair, because it's just so volatile. Like even just that one small little move, it's like 4%. Like that's a decent move on a 15-minute time frame. Wow. And if we really want to get nitty gritty, we can go like that. Make that red, and we're looking for a break and retest of probably to that zone, because this is a wedge right there. Something like that. If we really want to get nitty gritty, we could go into a smaller time frame, but that's what I would be looking for. Is at this point, we're now compressing the price action. This is the expansion phase. We're just looking for a retest before continuation in the expansion, with a retest of a previous key level of resistance right here as a new level of support before the continuation will move up. That would be the ideal situation for us to find, and it does look like we are creating that within SXP. So we'll keep an eye out on that. Ideally, we want to be on a not so small time frame, but sometimes it is what it is. You just get more granular, and it just keeps on looking better and better. All right, the final one's going to be XRP. So let's go to the weekly. Let's just remove the drawings here. The reason I'm going to the weekly on the XRP pair specifically is because the 30-cent zone is a very, very significant zone that we do need to break. We do see that there is hesitation and a lack of confidence from the buyers thus far to push the price higher, but we do see that the overall altcoin market is doing very well, and there's a probability of it absolutely exploding like how it got to this location or this price level in the first place. So we gotta respect the Ripple bulls for sure. So let's go here. Let's go to the 4-hour and find our horizontal level that we're holding right there. So nice descending triangle formation, and then we want to see a breakout of the previous high, which is currently this consolidation right around here. And let's go to the 1-hour to refine that a little bit more. There we go. So we want to see this level at around 29.87-ish break. And if you want to be a little bit more conservative, you'd look at the next major zone, which is right around here. Breakdown right here, and then a retest, and then a major sell-off again. So that could be your either your second entry where you're going to add to your position, or it's going to be your more conservative entry, whereas this is the more aggressive entry for sure. So ideally, we'd be wanting to look for something along the lines of this. Obviously, in a perfect world, it's not going to always be perfect as good as this, but ideally, we want something kind of like this, where you see a break of the 29.87 range and then a retest right around there. So that would be your first ideal retest entry, and then your second retest entry would be all along here, where you're able to support that zone as a new level of support. And then you're looking for a squeeze or horizontal zone to break, and that could be another entry if you're very, very, very conservative. But you got a couple options for this potential XRP long, in my opinion. So that's going to be it for the crypto market update. Try to make it a little bit shorter. 45 minutes is a little bit long, but trying to keep it under an hour here. Some of them were like 2 hours, which is pretty crazy, but trying to condense it, trying to get it a little bit more digestible. Thank you very much for watching. For the people who did, if you found this entertaining, informative, educational, valuable, it would be great if you would like it and subscribe, because that does help us out, and it lets us know that we should keep on making videos like this. The next one will be a global macro update on Wednesday, so we are doing a little bit of a different structure. So we're not doing it every single weekday because we're looking at larger time frames. It kind of does not make sense. It would make more sense to do it, every other day on the weekday. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, just to me makes a little bit more sense in terms of scheduling. So I appreciate you coming and enjoying the video. Hopefully you got something from it, and hopefully you had a great weekend and you're going to have a great start to this trading week. So until next time, have a good one, traders.